So everyone's talking about
UFOs,
alien life,
secret UFO files,
unidentified objects,
aliens.
Welcome home. This is At Home Apologetics. I'm Kyle Velasquez, and today we're going to talk about all the buzz going around with aliens, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, and what it means for Christians. Let's get after it. There is so much going on with aliens in the news recently, with the release of classified government files concerning UFOs and extraterrestrials.
Trump administration releasing the first batch of files related to UFOs and alien life.
So is the truth really out there?
This is especially interesting concerning the announcement by several pastors such as Mike Signorelli, Joseph Z, and Larry Ragland, who claim that they were invited into this secret meeting regarding information that was going to be released by the government in regard to UFOs and extraterrestrials.
A number of us are podcasters, and I do a daily live broadcast, and a lot of these individuals have been watching me and a number of my friends, and so they invited us and a number of pastors to, I'll just say it this way, kind of a secret location in Tennessee, and it was really just a rental house that they brought a bunch of people to and began to give disclosure to what was happening. So they reached out because of our platforms, and they wanted to get the word out. They said they felt like we were legit, other people were legit in the circle, and they wanted to connect with us.
Immediately after this was announced, it did not take long for many popular YouTubers such as Mike Winger and Ruslan to begin talking about it. Mike Winger reacts in this short video he released a few days ago, and by the way, it's crazy how he's dissolving this styrofoam in acetone in this video, but listen to what he has to say too.
Recently, there's some stuff going viral about a few pastors like Perry Stone and Alan DiDio and Mike Signorelli talking about being at a meeting where people were at this meeting. People were giving them information about coming government disclosures related to aliens, and Perry Stone mentioned that they'd be releasing info about lizard-looking beings, and Alan DiDio said they're actually calling them, they're not calling them aliens, they're calling them beings from, like, what did he say, another dimension or something like that? Let me just say, this all stinks. Guys, this stinks. I'm not saying no meeting happened, but the way that they're talking about it, you would think that this is an official government meeting where the government brought in these guys in order to give them a briefing on stuff that's coming. They said in order to tell the church and help protect the church and all this.
Mike is basically saying how skeptical he is about not the meeting itself, but some of the information coming out about the meeting. He has always been such a thorough person when he speaks on things and slow to conclusions, especially when he doesn't have a lot of evidence to go off of, but I think he has reason to be skeptical. He's kind of just waiting to see what actually comes out and if it lives up to the hype, especially with the talk of lizard people and stuff like that. Ruslan then chimes in, and honestly, I just love Ruslan's approach to this and how he breaks down all the data and the footage. I think he comes to some great conclusion.
The actual meeting.
Well, that was part of the meeting that we had, this clandestine meeting where we met with formal officials we'll be talking about later, which is why we're having this conversation. Four of us were called into a meeting where people are investigating the United States government and crimes they have committed in the process of obtaining technology and biology from non-human origin.
So it sounds like these guys might be whistleblowers?
And they're trying to inform pastors so that they can inform their congregations before the deception comes.
A little bit of scripture for us, Ephesians 6:12, for we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. Okay, so this is about a war in the unseen realm. There's a dimension beyond this realm where if you're understanding the possibility of aliens existing, you know that the likelihood is that they're interdimensional beings and not across the galaxy or from other galaxies.
Ruslan would then go on to conclude that he thinks aliens are demons. I think he does a good job with this, and it makes sense that they would be these interdimensional beings, and in some way we know they have the ability to interact with the physical dimension. honestly, I would tend to agree with Ruslan here, and it makes sense to me as well. In reality, this has been talked about for decades and decades. I mean, I remember growing up and you always hear about Area 51 and all these types of things, and I remember this interview even with Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 about 8 years ago on Joe Rogan's podcast, where he was honestly one of the first people I recall to be talking about this like gradual disclosure of classified information.
Why has this guy decided to meet with you at an airport?
Because the only way you meet with these people, the only way you ever would have anyone talk to you is if you can provide a service that they need. And my service was pretty interesting to them because I said, look, you guys, you know, you struggle with saying disclosure. You want to tell everybody everything, which I don't think everyone should know everything. And then you say they can't handle it, so don't tell them anything, you know? And I'm like, there's a middle road there. And here's the way I would do the middle road, because I have a service. So it's not, it sounds easy when you play it like that, but
service?
A service. Like, what can you do for them that they need help with?
And what could you do?
Communication. They don't have a way to make a movie, a book. They don't know how. Don't have a way to make documentaries. They don't have a way to go on a big show like this and communicate with young people. They don't do that, and nor should they. They look at, you got to look at what they're doing.
So they look to you for a spokesperson role?
I wouldn't say spokesperson role.
Communication role?
A communication role. It makes more sense.
They would...
Honestly, when it came out, I was like, this dude's lost his mind. Like, how many drugs has he done throughout his career as a rock star and stuff like that? And it's easy to kind of, you know, discredit the guy because it just sounded so far-fetched at the time, and you're just like, why out of all people are you the one who's getting all of this like insider stuff? But like, now I guess it kind of makes sense, and I had to reconsider some of those thoughts. Even though I think some of what he said is still kind of out there, you have to admit he was on to this whole thing a while ago. I do think the danger to the church is that they would buy this kind of new religion that is being introduced, that this whatever, this alien extraterrestrial thing or whatever's going on is going to try to introduce that it wasn't God that is responsible for our existence, but extraterrestrials. Some are saying it may even get to the point that Christians who refuse to get on board with this will be persecuted as a result. Now, I'm not sure about all that, and I guess ultimately we'll see. I mean, we already have seen opinions like this in shows like Ancient Aliens that would often take these spiritual things or stories out of the Bible or just history in general and try to twist them by saying,
which way you want to look at this, whether it's flesh and blood alien or an actual angel, they're both extraterrestrial, so there's no question about that. They misunderstood those visits as being angelic in nature, when in reality they were visited by physical space travelers.
I'm not gonna lie, I used to love this show, and my wife and I used to watch this show, like binge it years and years ago, and no matter what thing they were talking about, it was always going to be the most reasonable conclusion that extraterrestrials came down and did whatever we claim was supernatural, incredible, inexplicable, or God. So it's important for us as the church to take everything in stride as all the information comes out and test it all accordingly. Ultimately, I'm not entirely convinced that even if aliens do exist, which I'm highly skeptical they do exist in the way that we think they exist or how it's commonly put out there that they exist, but that the existence of aliens isn't exactly inconsistent with the Bible or belief in God. Mike Winger covers this as well in one of his older videos.
Would aliens disprove Christianity? That's the question. The question here is not, are aliens real? Do aliens exist? Extraterrestrial beings from other planets in the universe? That's actually not the question. The question is, if they do, how does that affect a Christian's faith? What central Christian belief would be lost if aliens were found to exist? Would we lose God's existence? No, your awareness of the evidence for God is very thin. If you think life in the universe disproves God, it seems to move in the other direction, in my opinion. Would it disprove the Trinity? No. Would it disprove the death and resurrection of Christ? No, right? Jesus' death and resurrection is not dependent on the lack of alien life in the universe. It's like Jesus dies and rises again, and then we discover aliens, and it's just Control Z, right? Just undo the death and resurrection of Christ. Would it undo the doctrines of forgiveness through faith, being saved by grace through faith? Would that be undone by the existence of aliens? No. Would God's future plan of resurrection for mankind, that we're going to be united to him in glorious resurrection forever, is that threatened by the existence of aliens? And again, the answer is no.
I recommend watching that whole segment of Mike's video and just see what he says. He does a good job trying to come from all different angles and what it means for each different angle. I'll post a link to all these videos in the description below. It's fair to say it is an interesting issue that we're gonna have to deal with as things come out, but just try not to jump to conclusions and just wait and see what information comes out. And as they sift through these documents and come to conclusions on things, we just have to see what happens. Just remember that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, and that there is a whole immaterial spiritual world out there as well. It's becoming not a matter of if, but a matter of what these things are. Hey, let me know what you think in the comments section. What are aliens? Do aliens debunk Christianity? Like and subscribe right here to stay in touch, or check out this video here. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay blessed.